Welcome to the Wellness Connection with Dr. McMinn. Dr. McMinn is Birmingham's wellness doctor, practicing cutting-edge, world-class wellness medicine at McMinn Clinic in Homewood, Alabama. Each week, Dr. McMinn interviews experts in the field of integrative wellness medicine. The Wellness Connection brings you the information you need to optimize your health in mind, body, and spirit. And now, here's Dr. McMinn.
Okay, if I also talk about
welcome back to the Wellness Connection with Dr. McMinn and Misty, and we have once again as our guest the excellent Dr. Sophia Lahl, sports medicine expert. And so, Misty, what are the questions you have for her?
So I think I understand this right. If a young female goes for an extended period of time without having a cycle, that's a bad thing, right?
that's a bad thing for a few reasons, but one in particular is it can affect her bone health.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, whenever we hear osteoporosis, we think that's a disease process of our grandmothers. Yeah. But we can find osteoporosis in young teenagers, and that's a really scary thought. And if they are not eating properly, and if they're not having their periods, they can affect their bone strength. And if you're talking about an athlete, this could be someone who's showing up with not maybe just one stress fracture, but maybe more than one stress fracture.
Well, I hear someone say all the time, the teenage years are the time for girls to build their bone bank.
And that would be me too. So from the ages of 12 to 18 are the most formative years for bone strength.
Exactly.
And that's typically when we see this particular population do their most damage.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they're most concerned either about what they're eating or they're not eating. They're most concerned about their image, or they're just not eating healthy food, so they're not getting in the nutritious calories that they need.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And so, what about then the male counterpart to this? So you were saying that males have issues as well, right?
Well, males can have issues, and there is a small subgroup that believes that you can have a male version of the female athlete triad. And in that case, it would be, for example, a young boy who's doing a lot of exercise. Maybe it's something like running. He's running a lot. He's running with high intensity and or high frequency, and not getting the rest that he needs for his body, and not nourishing himself properly, and winding up with injuries, oftentimes a stress fracture or many stress fractures. And that's because he doesn't have the bone strength.
Like wrestlers. My son was on the wrestling team, and he would have to drop, 5-10 pounds in a week, and he wouldn't eat anything, and he was exercising constantly. I think that's horrible.
It's dangerous,
Horrible.
and we don't have that signal of he's stopping his period, obviously, right?
Yeah, it seems like I learned a while ago that a stress fracture in a young woman is osteoporosis until proven otherwise. I just think that so many times we blow it off and we don't investigate it. But these women need to have a thorough evaluation.
And that would be someone that we would evaluate in our office. You're absolutely right. It could be because of their running form, their running style. It could be because they're exercising too often. But it also could be because they don't have good bone strength. And so we would get a DEXA scan on a patient that's that young. It doesn't matter. If I see enough red flags, I'm sending her for a bone scan.
Good for you. Good for you. Sophia, I've always enjoyed playing tennis. It's a sport for a lifetime, but I find as I get older, I have all these weekend warrior injuries. I used to be able to go out and play all day long, but now my shoulder aches, this aches, that aches. So what about us older athletes, the weekend warrior types? What are some strategies for staying in the game and yet avoiding injuries?
That's a great question, and that's actually a large percentage of my patient population as well. As we get older, it becomes more and more important to cross-train, to do other activities, it can be other sports if that's what you'd like to do, but to give your body some variety in frequency, in intensity, and in type of physical activity. And that way you won't get these overuse type injuries. The injuries that you're naming off, the tendonitis, that's can be an overuse type of scenario. And so what you want to do is instead of playing tennis, how many days a week do you play?
Well, I'd love to play every day, but once a week or so, yeah.
Once a week. So there are now you talk about older patients, I had a woman today who she's on 5 tennis leagues right now.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's right.
Wow.
And she's in this age population that we're talking about. So she doesn't do any other sport. She only plays tennis. That's a lot on her dominant shoulder, and even on the other the other side as well.
Right.
She's not doing any other sport. So that's one category. Then there's what you're describing, the weekend warrior.
Right.
It does become harder and harder for us to go out there every weekend as we get older. So what you want to do during the week, it could be something simple. Take walks. do some. You could call them calisthenics, but even if you did your simple sit-ups and push-ups, you want to do a little bit of something every day. The American College of Sports Medicine says that you should get 30 minutes of exercise 5 or more days a week to maintain good health.
Now, does exercise include playing an Xbox? Right.
That's only exercising your thumbs, and you can get arthritis. There's a whole new category of injury for that.
Yeah. You know, it seems to me like when I know, okay, I'm just playing the old fogey card here, but when I was a kid, we were outside all the time. We were playing and tussling around and all that kind of stuff. And there's some value in that, all right? And it seems like nowadays kids have too much screen time.
They have way too much screen time. The average screen time for children is 4 to 6 hours a day.
Oh.
4
Oh my
to 6
gosh.
hours a day, and they're not walking to school anymore
Yes.
or riding their bikes to
Yes.
school anymore.
Right.
Recess, I think, is one of the biggest issues.
Right.
You know, we remember when I went to school, we had recess every day. We had PE every day.
Absolutely.
A lot of schools don't have that anymore.
Got to teach you the test.
And they've done some studies, and the studies show that those kids that exercise every day have higher academic scores. And those that exercise and stay fit, stay active every day, are going to ideally have a more ideal body weight and not fall into this obesity epidemic that we're running into.
it is such
We are
an-
only
Second-
second
the
to
second
our
fattest.
state
Thanks
next
for
door.
Mississippi.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
especially
right.
especially children. Yes.
Especially children.
You know, Sophia, I've had the misfortune to have a tennis elbow now and then through the years, and those things take forever to heal.
They do.
So what are your strategies for a tennis elbow?
It's probably an overuse injury. And you want to always consider the joint above and below. So I would look at your shoulder as well. If your shoulder is not in its optimal position as it's moving through that tennis stroke, if it doesn't have the strength that it needs with the rotator cuff muscles that hold the integrity of the joint of the shoulder, that can put more stress on your elbow.
It wouldn't have anything to do with my bad form, would it?
It may.
Oh, Sophia, don't tell me that. Don't tell
And
me
believe
that.
it or not, it may have something to do with the position of your elbows while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
If you put too
for
much
sure.
bend in your elbow and then you sleep like that, it can affect the elbow as well.
Yeah. Now, if I understand, Sophia, you've been all around town. You kind of beat the bushes and make build relationships with trainers throughout the city, right? The YMCA and all these personal trainers, so that when a doctor writes a prescription, let's say if a doctor is seeing a patient in his or her office
Yes.
and writes a prescription for exercise,
Yes.
they can take that prescription to the trainer, right? And
Yes.
and there will be a relationship right there.
Yes.
And you've been all over the city
Yes.
fostering this
Yes.
program, right?
That is, then the name of the program again is Exercise is Medicine, and you can go online and look up exerciseismedicine.org. And here in Birmingham, we have now several fitness facilities that have joined forces with us. One is our local YMCA, of which there's 15 branches in Birmingham. Also, the LJCC has come on board, as well as UAB Rec Center, and also Lakeshore Foundation. So if any of us physicians write a prescription for exercise, which is also found on that website, we as physicians can print out a blank prescription, fill it out, we give it to our patients, and then we can send our patients in the direction of one of these fitness centers if we like. Also, if you have a patient who maybe is in the outskirts of town and doesn't want to drive in town or can't drive in town or doesn't have a local gym, on the website they have access to many ideas of how to exercise in their own community, in their home, with their family, with their friends.
Great.
We're not saying you have to go into the gym. We'd like for you to go into the gym so you can have some guidance and have someone like a trainer help you.
And what was the name of that website again?
Exerciseismedicine.org.
Wonderful. Now, what if a doctor is sitting in her office and doesn't really know that much about exercise, but wants to get a patient going?
They would go to that same
Yes.
website. There's
Yes.
6 portals, and one of them is for the medical community.
That's so cool.
Oh,